Alright, welcome back. I hope everyone had fun with the rock pop grooves. Hope you're able to figure those out. Today we're going to keep working with styles, and we are going to start talking about the jazz swing style. Just like rock and pop, this is a really broad style. So what I'm talking about today is just a small part of the genre, because there could be Brazilian jazz and fusion jazz, and today there's like jazz that combines hip-hop and things like that. So there's a lot of different styles of jazz. We're going to talk about just the swing style right now. And this would be a good style if you're in jazz band and the chart says swing on top, or a swing chart. This would be a great pattern to play. And when we're talking about jazz, one thing we have to think about is we're changing from a straight eighth pattern, like in our rock, pop, funk grooves, to now a swung eighth pattern. And all that means is if we're playing straight eighths, then we're thinking of eighth notes like you would play 8 on a hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Everything's very even. When we're thinking about swung eighths, we're now thinking triplet based. So I'm going to be counting triplets: 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And we're going to use that grid for all the patterns we play today. So now that we got that out of the way, we're working with swung eighths. We can start talking about the jazz ride pattern. So unlike rock and pop, where the kick drum, the snare drum, and the hi-hat were the most important instruments, for these jazz grooves, it switches. And so now our most important instruments for right now are going to be our ride cymbal and our hi-hats. And hi-hats are going to be played with our foot now. So we're not hitting them with a stick, we're not crossing our hands right now. We're going to be stepping down on our hi-hats with our foot. And one other change we got to be aware of is when we're playing a rock groove, our hands cross and we have our really good snare drum grip and we're just kind of shifting it around the kit. When we're playing this jazz ride pattern, our hand has to go to the ride cymbal. And if we take that snare drum grip and we put it on the ride cymbal, we have all this space here and our arm has to kind of be in a held position. And at a slower tempo, that's okay. But the issue with that is your arm's going to get really tired really quick. So the solution, we're just going to switch to a French grip, which means our thumb is now on top. And that allows us to bring our elbow in, keep our arm straight, and as we play faster and start working on up-tempo jazz, it's going to allow our fingers to help support the stick. So that's the only change right now, is we're going to be switching to a French grip in the right hand. Alright, so let's talk about the jazz ride pattern. This is the most probably famous cymbal pattern there is. You hear it in a lot of jazz songs, and this is a pattern that works at slow speeds, it works at fast speeds. It's great because you can apply it to a lot of settings. And what the pattern is it's a quarter note on beats 1 and 3, nice and easy. And then on 2 and 4, we have the first partial of the triplet and the third partial of the triplet. So if I subdivide triplets, I'm going to count triplets, but I'm going to clap the pattern. So we have 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. And that pattern is what we're going to play in the right hand. And the great thing about that, you can hear the triplet feel even if I speed it up a little bit. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. Now, the only thing that gets a little confusing about this pattern is if you're looking on a jazz chart, oftentimes how they'll write that pattern is they'll write it as a quarter note, 2 eighth notes, quarter note, 2 eighth notes. And so they'll write it like it sounds like this: 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. But how they want you to play it is 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. So just keep that in mind when you're playing a jazz chart, that if you see a pattern that looks like a straight eighth note, more like a rock fill or something like that, that they probably want you to swing those eighth notes. Okay, so we got that ride pattern happening. The first thing we're going to add is we're going to add our foot on the hi-hats on 2 and 4. And we want to make sure these hi-hats are coming down really hard with a lot of pressure, keeping them closed. Because if you're in a jazz band, if I was playing in a jazz band right now, there'd be horn players all to the side of me. And I could be playing a bunch of stuff on the snare and the ride cymbal and playing all these cool things. And the one thing the horn players want to hear is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They want to hear those hi-hats on 2 and 4. Those become really, really important. So throughout this whole pattern while we're playing it, we want to make sure our hi-hats are coming down really crisp and we're coming down with enough pressure in our foot that they stay shut. Alright, so let's put this on the kit. Let's hear what it sounds like. We're going to play the jazz ride pattern in the right hand. We're going to come down on 2 and 4 with our left foot on the hi-hats, and we're going to put it in context and see what it sounds like. Alright, so we got that happening. That is an awesome start to jazz playing right there. That pattern right there with just the ride cymbal and the hi-hat can take you through a whole jazz chart and provide really, really solid time, which is great. Now, if you've been playing drum set for a while, you've probably already practiced that pattern, so I'm going to give you some variations and some things you can start doing in your snare hand, your left hand, to kind of add to that pattern. Our left hand in jazz is what's going to be comping right now, and basically all that means is that's where we're going to be playing patterns that interact with a soloist. It's where we play patterns that support a song. It's where we play patterns that set up a figure in a chart. So it's where all of the improvisation comes from for right now, is going to be in the left hand. Now, one thing a lot of younger drummers think is that they have to play a ton of stuff to sound good. And it's actually the exact opposite. Usually, if you play simply, it's going to be more solid, more in time, than if you tried to cram in a bunch of snare drum stuff while you're playing time. So we're going to keep these patterns pretty simple right now, but we always want to make sure that our time, our ride pattern and our hi-hats, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. We always want to make sure that that pattern is right in time and very solid. So one thing we're going to add is we're going to add a cross stick on beat 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, my thing about cross stick, I always flip my stick backwards. So if I'm holding it like this with the tip up, I flip it backwards if I can, because what that does is that gives me the thicker part of the stick down here, so I can play a nice firm cross stick, okay? And generally you want the cross stick to be, the tip of your stick is going to be a few inches from the other edge of the drum, and usually that's going to give you a nice loud cross stick sound, which is what you want. So let's try that. We're going to play the ride pattern, hi-hats on 2 and 4, cross stick on beat 4. Let's hear what that sounds like. Alright, awesome, we got that going. So now we have a cross stick on beat 4. That is a great pattern you can throw in to change a section of a song. So maybe for the intro of a song, you just play the ride pattern, and then when you get to the verse or the next section, you can add that cross stick on beat 4. Now, for my more advanced drum set players, we're going to start talking about some comping ideas you can do in the left hand. This can get kind of overwhelming if you hear a jazz drum set player, because they can play a lot of different stuff. They're putting it around the toms. They're going all over the place. The comping does not have to be complex, and we're going to take a really systematic approach to making sure we can actually play really thought out concepts on the drums. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the ride pattern on the same ride pattern, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and we're going to keep that ride pattern going. We're going to keep 2 and 4 on the hi-hats, but what we're going to start going through is some comping ideas in the left hand on the snare drum. And it sounds a little complex, but all it is quarter notes, upbeats, and all the eighth notes. That's all it is. That's all you have to think about. And what that's going to be is we're going to keep that ride pattern going. 1, 2, let 3, 4, let 1 trip, let 2 trip. Sorry, 1 trip, let 2 trip, let 3 trip, let 4 trip, let 1 trip, let 2. We're going to keep that ride pattern going, but we're going to play quarter notes on the snare. So then we're going to go to upbeats, or the third partial of the triplet, the let of each beat. So 1 trip, let 2 trip, let 3 trip, let 4 trip, let 1. And then the third variation is going to be all the eighth notes, or the first and the third partial of every triplet. 1 trip, let 2 trip, let 3 trip, let 4 trip, let 1 trip, let 2, with the ride pattern. So just by playing those 3 variations, you're going to have so many things you can do. You can comp with some quarter notes for a while, and then add in an upbeat, and then maybe when you're driving into the next section, throw in all those eighth notes to really push it, and you can start varying them up. But right now, we're going to keep them very systematic. So let's put them on the drum set. We're going to do 4 bars of each. So 4 bars of the quarter notes, 4 bars of the upbeats, the let, the third partial, and then 4 bars of all the eighth notes, the first and third partial of the triplet. So let's put that on the drums, hear what it sounds like. That is awesome. You guys have the jazz ride pattern going. You got some comping ideas. So take these home, put them on a practice pad, put them on the drum kit, practice them, and start varying them up too. That's going to be the next step, is to, if you're working on the cross stick, maybe play 4 cross sticks in a row on beat 4, and then play 4 measures of time without the cross stick, and be able to add in all that stuff that's happening in the left hand, whether it's the cross stick or the comping, be able to add it in and take it out. That way, when you're in a situation where you have to play a jazz chart, you can change each part of the song by adding something or taking something out. So have fun, practice these, and I will see you next time when we talk about some other styles. Bye.